We create this video that you see on your screen using the NotebookLM data table.
Padding and move that time to a unified project buffer at the end of the schedule. Use feeding buffers.
We will demonstrate the process now in this video. Now, assuming that you know how to create a NotebookLM notebook, you can go to any data table that you already have, or you can create a data table. And a data table is fairly easy to create. You'll just go to the studio. You will then click on the customization, and you can do any customization that you might want. If you don't know what customization that you want, you can take any synthesis that you've already done. For example, we did a synthesis here. We can just get the custom prompt. We can then copy the prompt. What we can then do is we can go to the data table. We can enter in the prompt, and then we can generate a data table. And one of the things that you will notice about the creation of a data table is that the generation tends to be faster than some of the other studio assets. What a data table does is it synthesizes and organizes. So we're going to expand out the data table. You're going to notice how what it did was just took the information, it synthesized it, and then organized it into columns. It does provide the source here in this area. You would then close out of your studio asset, and all you need to do then is you will go to the More tab where the ellipses are, and then you'll export the document to your Google Sheets. To create the video, we took this data table and exported it to Google Sheets. The prompt used to create the data table was not complex. It just asked for a specific way of being able to organize the information. Your document will then be exported to Google Sheets. Now, one thing you could do is you can go to one of the columns where the sources are, and you just delete that entire column because you're not necessarily going to use it. And you'll see then that the chart will then extend. When we attached the Google Sheet to Gemini, the prompt that we used was not particularly sophisticated. We used some structure, and then we just asked Gemini to then turn the sheet that we attached to a slide presentation. As it turned out, Gemini did not fully interpret that prompt. We're going to open up Gemini's answer to that prompt. And what you'll see here is that what we did not get were slides. And what we want from Gemini through the canvas is to generate slides. So we then, again, did not structure the prompt. We just followed up with another prompt to iterate. And then Gemini responded by creating slides. Now, it's important to note that all of this happened within the Canvas tab. So when we enabled Canvas, that is where we prompt, that's where we attach the sheet, and that's where we ask Google to create the slides based on our data table. Once we have the slides, what we can do is we can then click Export to Slides. That is where you will get the slide presentation that was generated from your data table. So if you want to go through the slides, what you can do is you can find, for example, an image, and if you don't like the image, you can replace it. For example, we can click this button. We can then go to generate a new image for this area, and we can generate a new image here in using Nano Banana Pro. So you can change any image and you can regenerate one here in this area. You can then click on top of the image. You can then, with the image highlighted, replace the image, and then the image will then be replaced. We can also add in an infographic. For example, you'll see the prompt that we wrote here. We just asked Gemini to summarize the slides and then to create an infographic with no people or faces. We can then create a new slide, and we can make our infographic the focus of the new slide. We can then insert the new slide. And so we can continue to do this throughout our presentation. For example, we can come into a specific point in the presentation, and we can ask for another infographic. So we're effectively going to ask slides.google for another infographic, and we will then add it into our presentation. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate a specific slide. We're then going to go to that slide. We're then going to delete out the content. We're going to regenerate an infographic. We're just going to ask for a widescreen infographic this time. And we're going to paste in our infographic. We're going to delete the last slide. And our slide presentation is now ready to be turned into a video. We can go direct to vids.google, or we can just go to the File menu, and we can click on this File menu element that says Convert to Video, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to convert to video. Vids.google will then ask you if you want all of the slides included. We're going to state that we don't want the last slide. We're then going to click Next. And what we're going to do now is you're then going to see that vids.google is going to write your script using the AI. It will also assign an AI voice to you. And what you can do is you can go in and you can listen to some of the voices and you can decide the one that you want.
The voice you select makes a difference in how viewers will
The voice you select makes a difference in how
The voice you select makes
Once you decide on a voice, you can then click Use this voiceover. We're then going to click Create the draft video. And then vids.google will then go about the process of creating the draft video. You'll then notice that you have a 2-minute video, and this is going to vary, but it tends to be between 2 and 3 minutes. You can then play the video.
Welcome to this video on optimizing flow. We will explore actionable frameworks for multi-segment marketing strategies designed to maximize your throughput and minimize waste. We are shifting the paradigm from the traditional cost world, focused on busy work and local efficiencies, to the throughput world, centered on high-impact systems and radically changing project management outcomes. The cost world.
Now, this is not a full-blown tutorial on using the editing feature inside of vids.google, but you can edit in or edit out some of the elements. For example, if you don't like the music, you can go to this area and you can change out the music. You can do that primarily by clicking on the soundtrack and you can click on sound. You'll then see that you can choose between this specific track and then all the tracks. You'll then see the music track here in this area. You can go to this element. You can export to YouTube, MP4. Now, when you download as a GIF, it does need to be 30 seconds. So you'll have to choose a point on the timeline if you want to download a specific GIF. So our video is now complete. One thing we want to see in particular is how the AI handled when we placed an infographic inside of the video as an image.
Multitasking. This diagram illustrates the move from the cost world's chaotic, siloed efficiency to the throughput world's focused approach. The shift concentrates on the weakest link to accelerate conversions and deliver high-impact results in revenue.
So you can see how the AI handled our specific image. We're going to skip to the other image because we want to see how the AI handled the second infographic.
Outcomes. Here is a final visualization of these strategies. Solopreneurs reduce lead time by stopping multitasking. Small businesses gain early warnings with shared buffers. And large businesses maintain focus by visualizing the critical chain.
So you can see, you can take a data table, you can move it inside of Canvas, and you can create an entire video via Google Sheets and into Google Vids. Okay, so thanks, and I will see you in another video.